Welcome to the HS Warrior Podcast.
The opinions of the producers and guests of this podcast are not the views of our company or its subsidiaries. This podcast is intended for entertainment purposes only and are not intended for actual medical advice.
HS Warrior Podcast, episode number 3. I have a special guest with me today. It is Abby Hargis. Abby, why don't you say hi and just introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Abby. I am a fourth year medical student, actually at a medical school in Virginia called Eastern Virginia Medical School, and I'm excited to be here. So
Awesome.
thanks for having me.
Awesome. Now, if you're probably wondering, why do I have Abby on the HS Warrior Podcast, and what does she have to do with it? I met her when she was down in Miami for a year, and she was working with the Hope for HS Foundation, which if you haven't reached out to them, if you're an HS Warrior, haven't reached out to them or anything, I highly recommend finding out about them because they do stuff all over the United States and Canada, all over the world, if I'm not mistaken, including England and other places. So, yeah.
So I'm only familiar with the work in the United States, but it's definitely robust, and they're an awesome organization.
No,
So,
I can definitely say, because it's one thing to be part of the online groups, and yeah, it's great sometimes whenever you're having a bad flare, but it's nice to go meet people in person, have some coffee, everyone laughs, everyone cries together, we all hug, stuff like it's great. I'm not even
yeah, it went really well.
yeah, I'm not gonna sit here, and knock it. I mean, if you don't believe in it, hey, that's up to you. But me personally, I enjoyed it. So
Yes,
yes.
would recommend going to a meeting. They're really cool.
All right. So obviously, I've been to many dermatologists. I've interviewed, with a couple of them. I've been to ones that have no idea what HS is. I've seen doctors that have no idea what HS is. And as you said, you're a medical student who already not only knows but is involved with treating HS, which is really, really cool. So there's always things that me myself, I'm grateful for these things, but I'm always like, what in the world is going on? So I gotta ask, what led you into the field of dermatology?
Yes, so big question. First of all, you gotta love the skin, and I love the skin. So that was sort of a starting point.
All right,
But
Hannibal
then
Lecter.
Well, I think part of it for me was I think it's a really special opportunity to care for patients who have an ailment that's so public and
Yeah.
it's so open to everyone that can possibly see it. If you have something going on with your heart or your lungs, it's not necessarily visible.
Yeah.
You can hide it when you walk outside. And I found, it to be a really special group of patients who have a lot of sort of determination and overcome a lot of different things, but not just on the physical side, but also with their personal lives and with sort of the emotional aspect of dealing with an ailment or sort of a skin condition. So I'm really interested in it, and I love dermatology, so that's sort of how I've come to meet you. So
That, let me tell you, thank you. That is awesome because, I can understand, and it's something that I know this is going to make no sense. Maybe it might. Like when I was a kid, my mom didn't laugh much. So I took it upon myself to make people laugh. So I
that's
always
awesome.
wonder, hey, did anyone jump into dermatology because their parent or a loved one seriously, like I've heard stories about doctors becoming surgeons, heart surgeons, because one of their parents had something going on. So that has always intrigued me. It's always a
Yeah.
question I like to ask, like, how did you get into, like, what led you into this field, Uh,
Yes, absolutely.
yeah.
So,
All
I
right.
mean, most people know someone with a skin condition of some sort.
Yeah.
So, I definitely have people in my family who have certain things, but it's been definitely a personal journey with finding out what you want to do in med school.
Well, that is awesome. All right. As an up and coming doctor, how much more research and knowledge are you seeing about HS?
So, I can't speak to, what the research world in HS was like before I started medical school, so maybe 4 some years ago. But now I would say it's really just really exciting what's going on with HS in the research world, and I'm seeing so much happening, even just from the past year working in Miami, and this year coming into my fourth year. So I think it's a really exciting time for HS, definitely.
That is
So
awesome, man. Let me tell you, like I talk to, I'm always like in the other groups and personal chats and things like that with other patients with HS, and I have to put them. I send them to the, oh, I forgot the name of that website. That it's the not HS, not Hope for HS. They're linked with them, though.
the HS Foundation,
HS Foundation. I'm like, hey, go to the HS Foundation because I've dealt with doctors that have no idea, and I can honestly tell you, from me being a patient, I'm starting to see now more and more doctors in the emergency rooms knowing what it is.
right?
Like
Yes,
I
that's super helpful,
yeah
just
I
to have more awareness in general.
yeah, exactly. Like, okay, we get it. It's not, if the patient knows that they have it. Like, I was talking with a patient last night and I was like, I would love for there to be a genetic marker so that, the first few times that it happens, we'd be like, no, 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 we know what it is. Relax, but we'll see if that ever comes about. That might be science fiction at this point. All right.
We'll see, maybe.
What is some great advice you've heard from HS patients? Because you've worked with a lot of them that you've worked with that you would give to other HS patients.
Okay, so I've heard a lot of great advice. I feel like at some of the Hope for HS meetings we had in Miami, we're just filled with lots of good advice. Some from you too, actually. So I would
Thank you.
say a big theme definitely is sort of not being afraid to speak about your HS, whether, on our end in the clinical environment when you go to the doctor, definitely just not being afraid to bring up things, how painful it is, exactly what you're going through. And, even if it's more personal, like how it's affecting your personal life,
Yeah.
clinicians do need to know that information. And I found it really neat how in one of the more recent meetings, sort of a patient who's had HS for decades was sort of advising a high school patient on,
Yep.
hey, it's okay to tell your friends about what's going on with you as well. I think that sort of realizing you don't have to be afraid to tell your friends is probably great advice. So I
I
really appreciated that.
I gotta agree with you. Part of this podcast, there's a couple things that rolled into the idea, the seed and its sprouting and everything else for this idea of a podcast. But definitely one of them is to pull HS out of the shadows. Make it more
Yes,
commonly
yeah,
talked about. To where, because people walk around having it, not knowing that they have it, and I know that
right.
for a fact. You know, uh, so I know that you're a doctor in training. I think would be the best way. My terms for putting it. What's the proper term if I have it
Um,
wrong?
Med student, student doctor, one
Okay,
of those
Okay,
terms. Yes.
I'm gonna try not to misidentify you. Sorry, med student.
Okay.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
med student works.
As a med student, in your opinion, what are some big misconceptions about HS that you would like to see change?
So this one is sort of unique to maybe my interests, but
Yeah,
I think maybe a misconception is that you, I'm talking on the student or clinician side,
correct.
that you can't bring up more personal topics in the clinical setting. So, I really think it's important for clinicians to be able to bring up, how is HS affecting your intimacy? How is HS affecting your personal life? And I have found through talking to several patients this year, it's been sort of a universal positive response to, hey, let's talk about this. I'm glad you brought it up. It is affecting me in these personal avenues.
Yeah.
So I think maybe a misconception is that certain topics are sort of taboo in the clinic, but it might be very well worth bringing up. So
All
that's
right.
sort of something I'm very passionate about, and I hope to do in my future.
That is, what? I'm looking forward to it. Like, I know, listen, you have an attitude and a way about you, and I'm not trying to, kiss any part of you here. I'm just being honest. I'm calling it how it is.
Okay.
All right. You have an attitude about you that's like, yo, I know life sucks, but let's smile and we're going to talk about it. We'll work through it. And I got to
Yes.
admit, that's a natural gift of yours. I don't know if anyone's ever told you
Thank
that
you.
or anything else like
Thank you.
that.
I appreciate that.
All right. So,
Thank
my
you.
biggest question, and my biggest thing is not my biggest question, but something that, I know when I first heard about HS was in an emergency room from a doctor. When did you first hear about HS? Was it in
Okay.
school? Was it a friend of yours that might have had it? Something like that.
So I first heard about it when I part of my, curriculum in medical school. So when you're in your second year, so med school is 4 years.
Hmm.
When you're in your second year, you're studying for your first board exam. So I was actually using an online question bank,
Oh,
and I had a question pop up, and it showed a picture of the axilla or the armpit of someone who had HS.
yeah.
And the question was basically asking me to identify it. And so this was the first time I was actually sort of presented with the diagnosis was a picture. And I
Oh,
remember it being sort of very impressive to me, and it really stuck with me.
yeah. Like,
So
I. So personal story. Bing, bing. We're gonna sidetrack here, because I have ADD. I jump everywhere, and I really do.
that's
So,
good.
okay. People will look at me and be like, "What's wrong with that guy?" I had my mother-in-law. Now her and I get along fine, but when we were first married and my HS started getting way worse, my mother-in-law was like calling, basically at the dinner table, calling me lazy, and my wife was like, "Oh no, oh no, it's gonna happen," because she knows who I am. I'm a little bit crazy, and we know that. So I literally got up and dropped my pants in front of her and was like, "This is what's
Oh my
going
gosh.
on. This is why I'm not out there sweating and cutting the grass and things like that. It's not because I don't want to be. It's you try working with an open wound, huge open wound,
Yes.
and then pouring sweat into it, and then it's like in a sensitive area. So
Right.
yeah,
Wait, what did she say?
she was basically saying that I was just being lazy, that I didn't, that I had gotten fired from my job because I was being lazy. Actually, I got let go, and the boss even told me, I don't like that I had to let you go, but you're just sick too many days, and I really think that you need honestly, like, it is what it is. And it's a truth.
Yeah.
As an employer, I would have to look at it from like an employer stand point of view. Wow, I'm totally messed up English here. It's my second language. It's okay. Uh, I you know I have to look at it from their point of view. And yeah, while I was good when I was there, I can't be calling out every 3 to 4 weeks because I'm in the hospital with an abscess on my growing, or something like that. It was literally
Right.
a pain in the ass for me, and it was a pain in the ass for them. I mean,
But it's something that other people on the outside don't understand,
what?
and without talking to you or you showing them
Well,
things like that.
exactly. Until you show them, spoiler alert here. I've been talking with somebody who also helped plant a seed. I think I showed you the video of her. She's on
Yes.
TikTok. Okay,
Oh,
her and
you
I have been.
showed me that video. Yeah.
Yes, she's she
You reached out?
her and I reached out. Her and I have been talking. She's she wanted to do it yesterday, but yesterday was infusion day, and those days, I the between the Remicade and then the pre meds, which people don't realize, they give me Benadryl as a part of the
Hmm.
pre med, and Tylenol, which I know doesn't sound stupid. I get sleepy off Tylenol. So those
That's
days, by the time I get home, I'm ready for a nap. Like, I'm just useless. Like everyone knows, I get up that morning and the first thing is to make something in the crock pot, for dinner, because I'm just gonna
hmm
be useless for the rest of the day.
Well, it's a
So
big deal.
it,
It's very draining, I'm sure.
yeah, and also, like, even when I was on the Humira, the days I would inject, those days I would
Oh,
get,
really?
yeah, I would get like, have you ever? I'm sure you have, because you go to college. You've been hungover before.
I will not confirm or
Okay?
deny.
You plead the Fifth Amendment. I get it, but if you could imagine the feeling of being hungover, that's what it felt like. It was
Okay.
like
For Humira.
yes, yes,
Okay.
and it's the
Wow.
same.
Did that stay with you with every time you injected?
Yes, yes. So
Okay.
Wednesdays were my injection days. So Wednesdays through Thursday, you would know, okay, I'm gonna be dragging a little bit of ass, basically, to say, I don't know how else to describe it. It's you're dragging, you're like, okay, I gotta
No,
force myself.
I didn't realize that. I don't know if, I guess we haven't talked about that. I didn't realize you had that sort of after effect. of getting the injection.
I've talked with, and it's not the same for two people because I've talked to other people that are
Hmm.
like, oh, I have none of that. And then I've talked to other people that are taking Humira for other things, and they're like, yeah, that, I get that day and a half of where I'm basically just dragging, and I even know people that have tried to work it out to where they are injecting on Saturday so it doesn't affect their work. As
Oh,
crazy as that
wow,
sounds.
interesting. It
Yeah.
is crazy.
And I mean, well, if you think about it, okay, God, I am not a doctor, and I know you're a doctor in training. So I'm going to try explaining it to the best of my abilities. I might not be the brightest crayon in the box, but the biologics, if I'm not mistaken, you're basically killing your own immune system.
I feel like it's more putting the brakes on the immune system.
I mean, you do anything with the immune system, your body's going to feel it.
Yes, that would make
I
sense.
mean,
Absolutely.
I think we all know that. That's a, I don't think I need to be a general practitioner or anything to realize that. So, I'm not. I mean, I'm trying to live like a doctor, but I'm not a doctor.
No, you do. I love all the work you're doing.
Yeah.
You're being such a huge advocate, so it's really inspiring.
Um. Well, no, that's what I'm trying to do, and I mean, it is what it is. All right. So, this actually came up in episode 2. But I think it's going to be a different perspective. I know I had my say on this. In your opinion, what's a good way for a patient to educate a doctor on the condition of HS if the provider knows little to nothing about it, which it does happen?
Yes, I believe you. I remember you telling me sort of a story about this.
Yeah.
So I'm hopeful that this will happen, maybe less and less as time
Yes.
moves forward. I guess, in the situation that it does occur, being as vocal and communicative as you possibly can and sort of standing up for
Yeah.
yourself and explaining, hey, this is my history. I've seen sort of a cyclical coming and going of these lesions. I'm very familiar with the diagnosed hidradenitis suppurativa. And then if the clinician you're dealing with, isn't maybe as well versed in
Hmm.
it, just sort of working collaboratively through it and sort of being that self advocate and being like, hey, I've had Humira before or whatever it may be. I've had an injection of
Yeah.
steroid and it's really helped me. You definitely making that
Yeah.
communication a goal because, on the clinician side, if you hear that a patient has had a certain treatment that's really helped them before, that's really good information to know. So that would be my
Oh
best
yeah.
advice.
I mean, I agree with you, and I know I tell people to go see the. I forgot it again, man. I am suffering from CRS today. Can't remember stuff. Not Hope for
That's good.
HS. What's the other one that has a website where you could find doctors or clinics that are actually specialized in HS? Definitely will put the description again in the. I will put the website in the description. Wow, I think that might have been a dyslexia moment. Okay. But yeah, there are places out there that do, will tell you. But the thing is, okay, you look at the map, and East Coast and West Coast and along the bottom is all purple, but then all in the middle it's all white. Like Alaska is all white,
Wow. Okay.
which means that there is nobody around that knows about HS. So that's, to the people, to me, I'm lucky. I'm in Miami. University of Miami is in the backyard. It's a oh, what type of hospital is that? A research hospital.
Hmm.
So they're looking for answers. They're not like, oh, we're just, you know, things like that. So I know you've worked with HS a little bit, at least for a year you've been working with it,
Yes. Yes.
correct? Okay. Do you find it on your end? Because I know sometimes on our ends, on the patient side, it's very frustrating. Do you find it frustrating on your end?
Let's see. I'm hesitant to say, I guess, frustrating because I just really enjoy the opportunity to work with patients on HS. So, I'm still in my
Yeah.
medical school. So maybe it's not frustrating, but I would say definitely the feeling I have is when I walk into a room and I meet someone who has HS, and especially
Yeah.
when maybe this person's had HS for like maybe 7 years undiagnosed, and they've been in and out of the emergency room, and never received a full diagnosis. And it's just, full blown affecting multiple parts of the body, maybe the genital area. I just want to be, as a clinician or as a student, I just want to be able to provide an immediate solution, right there in the office. And I think maybe
Right.
something that I could qualify as frustrating is that, with HS, you kind of have to go stepwise. You try, well, from my
Yeah.
understanding, I'm definitely not yet a doctor, so I don't want to say anything, but
Correct. Correct.
you
No, no, yeah. It's
try,
this is all your
yes,
opinion.
you
Yeah.
try one thing, and then if it doesn't work, then you try another thing, so maybe there's not the magic switch right at the beginning, which is what I want to provide, or as a clinician, I would want to
Yeah.
provide. But it's definitely a diagnosis that requires some patience. So that would be.
Well, I mean, something. So I don't know if you've ever heard me say it, but I say it a lot, especially whenever I've walked into doctors' offices that things are just upside down that day. Like the CTUs, sometimes it's upside down, and you walk in there, and they're just way behind and stuff like that. And I said, listen, in the field of in the medical field, you guys are practicing. I understand that. And you guys call us the patients. Well, I think it's important for me to be patient and let you guys continue practicing, and that's something I cannot emphasize enough, because I know a lot of us just want the answer now, but it doesn't work like that. It does, like, my sci-fi thing, like I said at the beginning, oh, if we only had a genetic marker, we could say, yeah, you definitely have HS. It's definitely HS. We're not going to do any other test.
Hmm.
We're not going to worry you with it's an STD, it's a flesh-eating bacteria, it's what was the other one? The one that can't be cured through antibiotics, MRSA.
Uh,
Like, it's been called. Listen, I've been diagnosed with 30,000 other things that turn out. Oh, we had the wrong diagnosis. So, and I get it, where you're scared, like you were, like, chewing your nails off as a patient. No, and I get it. It's, you got to go through, like you said, the process, the
hmm.
steps, to try to get down to the bottom of it. All right. So, what is some advice you would give with someone going to a HS specialist after being diagnosed with HS for the first time? Even though I'm pretty sure you've basically answered this question, but I definitely no, because you really did. And I know I definitely have an answer for this question, but I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna hear it from the clinical side real
Okay.
quick. All right.
Again, I think coming from being on the medical school side, being
Yeah.
as using as much communication as you possibly can. Don't hide anything. Just definitely be forthright with everything you've experienced and you are experiencing. And if you have a whole
Mm-hmm.
list of questions, definitely advocate for yourself and don't be afraid to ask those questions. I'm sure for some patients it's a journey before you're able to reach that specialist finally. So things have been
Yeah.
building up over a long period of time. Um, so I
Yeah.
know it's hard for on the
All
clinician
right.
side. Clinicians might only have a certain amount of minutes, but being as communicative as possible is definitely going to be big during that first
Yeah.
meeting.
Tell the story. There's something that I heard from somebody we both know and respect, that the skin tells a story.
Yes, I've heard it.
Yeah. All right. So we both have. Hey, listen, I gotta take a quick bathroom
Okay.
break. All right. So hold on real quick. I'm gonna hit pause and ink bleed, and we are back from our quick bathroom break. I do apologize about that. Nature calls sometimes. You know how that goes. All right. So, yeah, like we were saying, definitely the skin tells a story, but it's important for the patient to tell the story too. And I can definitely respect that you guys on the clinical side are crunched for time, because there are so many minutes in a day. At the end of the day, you get to, you still got to go home and enjoy your own life. Let's just be honest. No, seriously. I really, I try, like, I try not to bother people on their days off. I hate that, like it needs to be something emergency wise for that to happen.
But I'm
All
sure
right.
there are
So,
situations where there are emergencies like you're talking about. So
oh my. So, story time.
here we go.
uh,
Uh,
yeah, here we go. Story time. So, no. 2 years ago, I had a really, really bad one that refused to pop on my scrotum. Oh my god! And it felt like I was trying to sneak a lit charcoal briquette through airport security. And I have a really good office. You know my
Yes.
dermatologist. I'm able to email him whenever, and he was just not responding. So instead of going to University of Miami Hospital, I was in so much pain. I went to the closest hospital, Baptist.
Okay.
Big mistake. Well, the dermatologist at Baptist, and boy, maybe I shouldn't say. Okay, she was able to get in touch with my dermatologist at University of Miami, who happened to be out of the country, and I was like, that explains everything. Okay, he is allowed to have a personal life, or she is. I'm not gonna,
Yes.
mention any names here, but yeah, they are allowed to have a personal life. So yeah, and then and it's funny because after I got back after the three botched surgeries, yes, botched, like
That's terrible.
it totally, yes, it is, and even the general surgeon is the one who did the three botched. I finally saw a plastic surgeon. He's like, if you're being seen at University of Miami, why aren't we transferring you? Why are we even touching this?
Mm,
Like, they obviously know your case, and they seem to know a lot more than we do. And that was like the most honesty I've ever gotten. So,
yeah.
and as soon as I got into my dermatologist's office, he's like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, you're allowed to have a personal life. I expect you to have a personal life. Like,
Yeah.
I was just like, yo, why aren't they answering any emails? Like, I'm sending pictures. I'm like, yo, I'm in real pain here. Like, what do I do? What do you
No,
recommend?
I'm sure that was
So,
really difficult. You had all three of those procedures at that one hospital stay?
so obviously, okay, I have multiple open wounds around the same area. And this is the part why I say it was botched and why I'm really upset. Number one, I was scared for my life because, that was when I basically had sepsis.
Okay.
So, but everything was in the emergency room. Anything that wasn't open had finally opened and was just draining out. Uh, and the general surgeon in the emergency room said, no, 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 you're right. Because I told him I need IV antibiotics for a few days. If these don't pop, then we'll talk about surgery. But let's do IV antibiotics and, start killing this. Advocating for myself. Well, I was in the hospital for one day, and then in comes a new general surgeon. Not going to mention any names. And he basically said, oh, you gotta have these surgeries right away. INDs, INDs, INDs.
Mm.
So everywhere else that I had it, he did an IND, except for the why I went in, the one on my scrotum. He didn't do that one. He let that one be, and then put Penrose drains everywhere.
Oh, okay.
So I looked like an octopus when I was naked, because I had like these drains hanging out of me. No, seriously,
No, it
like
sounds like a lot.
so.
I can't imagine. So
So honestly, I feel like I didn't need those surgeries, those INDs, and they can feed, like, this doctor was full of it. You know, I'm pretty hairy. And I had the joke of I went streaking on Halloween. People thought I was Chewbacca. All right, yeah. So this guy didn't want to wait. I was like, hey, can you please wet the tape before you take it off of me after the surgery? He said, no, 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 that makes it harder to take off, which you and I both know that's a lie. Let's say it like it is. That's something you tell to like a little kid because you're just impatient with him. And he proceeded to rip off this tape,
ah, gosh.
and yeah, I screamed like a little girl. And then afterwards they give me Dilaudid. I'm like, I don't want this stuff. I don't like. Could you have at least wet it with some the water surgical? I forget the name of it.
Saline.
What is surgical water called? There we go. Yeah, saline. Can you at least wet it with some saline to take it so it peels off the? No, I got waxed that day. It was no
Oh
fun.
man. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we've talked about the dark side, and of course, you are the new hope, as I like to call it. You are the new hope. Uh, what are some things you look forward to working with HS
Oh my
patients?
gosh. Well, I look forward to working with, lots of different types of patients, but I do love HS patients, and I think that I really seek out that, the energy and the confidence and just the overall determination that HS patients have. There's a lot of
Yeah.
resilience. I'm really honored and grateful to have been able to be a part of the Hope for HS this year and to have been able to just hear from you and other patients and just be a part of it and kind of
Yeah.
be a fly on the wall. I think that it's incredibly inspiring. It's not just me, but my colleagues. We've spoken about just that energy, and it comes
Yeah.
with having a difficult diagnosis in some ways, and people being sort of all over the spectrum with where they are within the severity of the disease. But I'm
Yeah.
really excited to be able to, well, hopefully, I'm applying to be a dermatologist, but whether I'm a dermatologist or another doctor, I will always love working with HS patients. And I think it's a special group of people.
Well, it's awesome because if you do see it, and let's be honest, let's say the patient has no idea, you'd be like, "Hey, buddy, have you ever heard of HS? Because I think you might have that." You know, I would guess you'd be able to do that. I don't know. This isn't my field. All right, so let's say we go back to my original heartwarming story that maybe I should write a book about. Uh, you you're a kid and you see somebody suffering, a loved one suffering with HS, and you decide to become a dermatologist, right? Let's just say, what is some advice you would give somebody that's looking to get into the field of dermatology or just medical field, period?
Okay, so I'll start by saying, since I'm still in medical school and I haven't yet become a dermatologist, I can't really give
Right.
advice to that. But I will say, just in general, going into medicine, you have to just keep following your dreams. People really inspire me who
Okay.
just don't give up on things. There's always going to be a
Yeah.
barrier somewhere, and it's just sort of deciding, making up your mind you're going to do it, and then doing whatever you can to get there. So it's just that
Yeah.
determination and believing in yourself, definitely. So
No, that's fantastic. That's awesome. No, definitely. Let me tell you, that's good advice for just about anything. Is don't give up, keep believing in yourself, and even through the setbacks. Because man, have we all gone through them? Like
yes,
I'm sure,
they're going to be.
not just in life. You're always gonna have
Hmm.
setbacks, man. And some people, I've met people that will cry because the glass of water is halfway empty, and they don't realize, at some point it'll, you could refill it. Some people will cry that it turned dark. Well, don't worry. Tomorrow morning the sun's gonna come out.
Yes, and definitely like certain areas of being in just medical school can really get you down or
Yeah,
be really difficult, but there's always something to hold on to. For me, that's definitely been talking to patients like you and just being around your
awesome.
energy and learning from you. So even when things are hard necessarily in the past, there's always something.
Yeah.
You just have to hold on to it.
No, I gotta tell you, like something me and a lot of other HS patients I've talked to, not all of them are like me. I will say that not all of them, want to make like for me. I want to make the staff laugh. I want to, I don't want them to be like, oh my god, this guy again. No, we don't want to deal with that. I'm gonna be like, oh man, where's the popcorn at? Because we're gonna have a great time today. Like that's the way I like to do it.
Yes, attitude
Uh,
for sure.
yeah, exactly, and it's you know, you're not everything's gonna be great in life, and not everything's gonna be peachy. And I think that's great advice. That you said don't stop following your dreams, because I mean I'm still following mine.
Yes, you are.
As much as I have setbacks, people don't realize I was offered a huge sound studio and video studio to start up a podcast,
Wow.
but I would have to do it on their terms. And it just what they wanted wasn't close to my heart.
Mhm.
So I refused it. I know that sounds stupid, but so I was like, no, I'm gonna buy whatever stupid equipment I can afford and just go after it. No,
Be
seriously.
authentic. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've hit some bumps in the road, but I keep on. So yeah,
Well, I'm gonna turn it on
def
you and say, what
okay.
would your piece of advice be to someone who's just been diagnosed with HS?
Uh, come to it with a scientific mind. And what do I mean by that? You're gonna hear crazy things about leaky gut, certain vitamins you should be taking, certain things. Don't get me wrong, try them. You never know. But also, if it's not working, don't give up. There's something else out there. I come to things with a scientific mind, really.
Hmm.
I really do enjoy. I know I'm not the brightest crayon in the box. I get it. Okay, I might not be that smart. And yeah, I like to make fun of everything. Trust me, nothing is sacred with me. I make fun of it all. Even HS. That is a very serious thing. I'm gonna sit here and be like, it's a real pain in my ass. Yeah, it's. I'm gonna make fun of it. So but I definitely tell people come to it with an open mind, because I've seen stuff that works for me that wouldn't work for other people. Listen, I have a friend who she almost died because of Humira. Very rare. That rarely happens. I know that. So before anyone hears this, oh, I'm not gonna try Humira. Try it. You know, the first time you do it, you're at a doctor's office. It's a safe environment to do it because you never know. And it worked great for me for years until, my body decided, yeah, I'm gonna grow immune to this, and it's not gonna affect me anymore. So that's how come I ended up on the Remicade. Yay! So
Well, that's
yeah,
great advice.
but
Yeah.
no, yeah, I tell people just come to it with an open mind. You're gonna try different things, and like you said, and like I think we've both noticed it. The science has come so far in the last 10 years, I want to say, on HS that it's really amazing. No, seriously, because now there's a few famous pro wrestlers that are coming out, about HS. Uh, there's a very famous football player that has an auto-inflammatory disease that's a lot like HS. I don't know exactly what it is, but he's the reason why everyone started doing the AIP diet, which has helped a lot of HS patients. It hasn't helped everybody.
Hmm.
These are things you just have to try it because at the end of the day, we still don't know what causes it. If it's a genetic marker or whatever, these are my fairy tales. I like to tell myself, yeah, it's a genetic marker, you know. But yeah, but I'm definitely open to try new things because you never know,
Right. It's definitely that
you
open
know.
mind and determination.
Yeah.
You're talking about not giving up too, so that's definitely
Well,
part of
no, I
it.
mean, listen, like I went through this one phase where I had a hypothesis about whenever they put you inside that chamber for more
Hmm.
oxygen, hyperbaric oxygen
Hmm.
chamber. I went through that and I went to my dermatologist. I was like, I want to do this, and he kind of laughed at me. I guess he had figured out this hypothesis a long time ago, and he said the problem isn't that you're not healing. That's not the problem. The problem is that you're over your system is overreacting to everything. So it's not the fact that you're not healing. That's He's like, if you just had surgery, I would totally agree with you, but it's not gonna get rid of the
Hmm.
HS. It might actually make it worse. So I was like, interesting. So yeah, I mean, sometimes you got to come up with a hypothesis and just go to the doctor, be like, hey, how haven't we tried this?
Hmm.
And maybe the doctor might say, you know what, let's try it, or maybe they might tell you why we haven't tried
Right.
it.
Just staying invested
So
in the disease and getting, doing whatever you can to provide relief
yeah.
because that makes a huge difference. And also
Oh
being
yeah, no,
innovative, which I know you do with wound care, things like that. So,
oh, I am. Well, you know what's funny? Like I am very innovative in my areas, but like today, uh, my friend Pedro, who has the HS soap company, he was telling me about. Well, he's telling everybody on his Instagram about a wound care for underneath the armpits. It's called a sweat blocker, and you can buy them on Amazon. I'm gonna probably have to put up a link for them. No, I'm listen, but it helps keep the gauze in place.
okay.
So it's called underneath the armpit, which I was like, man, because he really, he has it. I've had him a few times underneath my armpits, but he uses it really bad underneath the armpits. So yeah, I mean, you just gotta be innovative with stuff, definitely.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Fine.
So I think that concludes our session for
All
today.
right.
Do you want to plug anything? Do you have anything you want to plug?
Oh man,
Maybe a book coming
you
out?
know,
Are you an
no
author?
books coming out. No, I'm just a
Okay.
private journal writer, so I don't have anything like that. I would say
Okay.
plug, definitely just Hope for HS. You get involved with that.
All right.
I think that that is only going to help patients. So definitely worth
Yeah.
trying. So getting
All right.
involved.
No, definitely. Thank you so much. The wonderful, the beautiful, the intelligent,
Thank you.
the intelligent Abby Hargis, the one Hope for HS, man. I gotta tell you guys, if you haven't checked out Hope for HS, make sure to check them out. And thank you guys so much for listening.
Yes. So thank you so much, Michael. I really appreciate this. And I think the podcast is an awesome idea. So I wish you the best and I hope other patients can maybe find some inspiration here. So and just to let everyone know, this podcast is for entertainment purposes only. I am a medical student, and everything here is merely just opinion and perspective. And additionally, we are talking about Hope for HS, but we are not representatives of Hope for HS. And thank you all for your time.